Alright, so what's going on, guys? It's your boy Christian Perez coming at you with another video. I'm with my little man here. It's his birthday. He just turned 7 years old, so I'm playing, but never stop dropping content. So in between that, I'm dropping content for you guys. So I'm dropping today. The video's gonna be a ball fade with some shear work on top, no beard work. I gave him a little bit of texture to make the style pop. And you know, if anybody ever tells you that you shouldn't,
it doesn't matter. I just want to play. Okay.
I guess it doesn't matter. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you subscribe, smash that like button, and get active in the comments. And as usual, I appreciate your time. Alright guys, so let's get it. So, like I said, in today's tutorial, we're going to be doing a ball fade with some shear work on top. I texturized the top just to make the style pop. We're going to be using our Slimline Pros, our cordless wall seniors, and our Oster Octanes. I also use the full shave. I didn't show it in the very beginning. So here's a little before action, just showing you what his haircut or his hair looked like before I blessed him. So here I'm using my Slimline Pros, and I'm beginning to set my first guideline for the ball fade. And since I already have the Slimline Pros out, you'll see that I go ahead and start doing some of my rough draft work when it pertains to the edge. Because I already have them out, so time is money. Why put them away and then come back? Save yourself a little bit of time here. You start doing a little rough draft here. He wanted to keep the C cup area dark, so that's why I'm doing that kind of half moon shape at the beginning of the guideline. And doing the same thing on this side, just giving myself a nice rough draft, just kind of sketching. I'm sketching, guys. So now that I've set the first guideline, I come back with my Oster Octanes with the 5-0 blade, and I start taking all that bulk off. And when I refer to bulk, for those of you that are getting new to this, it's just the, you know, the hair on the bottom or a weight line or any bulk of hair is when I refer to bulk, okay? So I remove all this bulk off and get the canvas ready for the foil shaver. So here I'm using the foil shaver. Now the foil shaver has some recoil to it. You want to make sure you're not pushing too hard, pressing too hard. It's just not necessary. You can create razor burn, bumps, just stuff that's not necessary. Use the weight of the shaver. Make sure you're cutting against the grain. And take your time with it. And just use the weight of the shaver. I can't stress that enough. No need to try to push through somebody's skull. First off, it's a bad experience for your client. Secondly, you're kind of killing your foils, and it's just not necessary. So here I'm going to go in with my cordless seniors, and these things are fire. You haven't got your hands on them? Whew, I'm sorry. You should when they come out though. They are dope. Here I'm setting my next guideline, lever open, and I'm keeping it symmetrical all the way around. This is the guideline I'm going to use to erase the bald line. Now when I set that first guideline in with the Slimline Pros, forgot to mention that my Slimline Pros are not zero gap, so it's not leaving like a tattoo, like a really hard line that's hard to take out. That's key to that. You want to make sure you set your first guideline with something that's not easy, or not hard to take out. You want to set yourself up for success. So here I'm starting to remove or blend out the zero line. I like to move it to the middle position and then to the close position. And as I move it to the middle and then close, I use just 3 teeth or just the corner of the blade. I don't want to use the full face of the blade because I don't want to raise the fade, right? You don't want to raise it if they want a medium fade or a low fade or high fade. You don't want to raise it unnecessarily. So take your time with it as you close the lever and just use the corners of the blade. That's it, just like that. That zero line is gone. These cordless seniors just mow through that like it's nothing. Here I'm using the Wall Premium #1 guard, lever open, create my next guideline. You'll notice when I start using guards here, I don't move it to the middle position. I literally just go in, I set the guideline with the lever open, and you saw I flip the lever closed, and I go right to the closed position. I literally no lever play whatsoever, just open and then closed. Now, there are times where I can skip the half guard. This is here, I'm attempting to skip the half guard. You go from the one open to the one closed, and then go with no guard at all, and you can see here left a little bulk, and just use the corners, and most of the time you can remove that little bit shadow there and you can skip the half guard. I didn't feel comfortable with it. I looked at it in the mirror, I wasn't pleased with it, so I said, you know what, I'm just going to grab the half guard and just detail this right now. And you can see I blended it out to nothing. So here I'm using the Wall Premium number 2 guard, lever open, same thing I did with the number 1. I move it right to the closed position, no lever play, no middle, just straight open and then closed. Here I'm using the 1.5 guard. There are times where I can skip this guard as well, but for purposes of the video, I'm just going to use all the guards, right? And then here I'm going back with the number 1, lever open, and I'm just touching that little bit of weight or bulk like I referred to in the beginning of the video, just to take that out. So here I'm repeating the same process, because what you do to one side, you got to do to another. Starting with the lever open, move it straight to the closed position. Going with the half guard, open, move it straight to the closed position. And you'll see me grab the number 2 guard here in a second. Lever open, and you'll see, move it straight to the closed position. That saves you a lot of time. So if I saw any of you guys at Bronner Brothers, the show was alright. It was definitely dope. The love that we got in reference to Toon Squad, we appreciated all of it. If you're gonna be at CT, you should be. We will be in the building for CT as well. We're gonna have a booth. It's going to be lit. So if you were planning on going, you were thinking about going, you definitely gotta go to CT. We're gonna be in the building. And if not, the premiere, we'll be at the premiere as well. The Orlando premiere, that is. So now I'm tying it all in together. I did both sides and now I'm tying the back in. The back is usually a little harder, the hair's a little denser. You want to take your time and make sure you blend it out correctly. And you can see I keep going to the left and to the right side, just making sure I tie it in together with the sides. Excuse me, guys. Make sure y'all get active in the comments. Smash the like button, man. I'm not getting enough comments. I want to get some feedback from you guys. I want to know what you guys want to see. What are you guys doing? Are you in school? Are you not in school? Are you guys vets? All walks of life. I want to hear it all. I want to see what's going on with you guys. I definitely want to interact more with you. So here I'm tying in the sides to the back. Like I said earlier, there's still a little bit of bulk right there. You can tell it's bothering me. I couldn't quite get it out with the half, but you'll see me. I'll come back with no guard and I'll detail that. You can see the whole time I'm detailing this, I'm literally just using the corners of the blade. Boom, there you go, gone. So here I'm using my Slimline Pros and I'm doing the edge. Now with this edge, right, he's got a very pronounced widow's peak, excuse me. So unless he wants to remove that, and even if he did, I would advise him or let him know, right? That's part of the consultation. You got to educate your client. I would advise him, listen, I can remove this widow's peak. If it's what you want me to do, I got no problem with it at all. But if I remove this widow's peak in a couple days, you're gonna have the regrowth there, and it's gonna be pronounced, just as pronounced as it is before you cut it. It's gonna stand out in your edge. It's not gonna look as good in a couple days. So I just edged the sides for him, gave him the masculine look that he's looking for without sacrificing and getting rid of that widow's peak. Because I'm telling you, if you ever wanted to grow that back, the amount of, you know, like they say, you're going through the bad phase when you're growing your hair out. It's the same thing with that widow's peak. It would take so long for that to catch up to the top. It'd be a big mistake. And I see some barbers that just go straight into cutting that. Sometimes they don't even ask. So you should definitely ask your client. If they want it anyways, then hey, I aim to please. If that's what you want, all good. After I explain the ramifications to you. If it's still what you want, then all good. If not, sometimes, you know, you kind of save a client because they didn't know any better. They've been going to another barber and it's just status quo. So I was able to edge both sides, and you'll see at the end here, it still looks excellent, still looks good. There's still a crispy edge in the front, but we didn't remove that widow's peak and give them, you know, that ugly regrowth here. So here I'm just wetting the hair down. You want to make sure you wet it thoroughly, right? Because hair has elasticity to it. So if you have some parts that are dry, some parts that are wet, it's going to be longer in some ends than the dry parts. So you want to make sure it's either fully wet or fully dry when you're cutting. So here I'm setting my guideline just right down the middle. He didn't want much off. And when I set it right down the middle, I just connect the dots to the center of my knuckle towards the inside of my hand here. You can see I'm just connecting the dots basically. And then when I go to the other side, I'm doing the same thing, just connecting the dots. Just follow your guideline and connect it all together. So here I'm doing shear over comb. You want to make sure you go right off the ridge of the head. You don't want to follow it in because then you take away the masculine look. The masculine look should be a square look. You don't want to round it off into the hair, into the top, because then that's more of a feminine look. So here I'm using the blow dryer and I'm just making sure that I get the roots real dry. Because before you apply any product or before you do any texturing work, you want to make sure that the hair is dry to the root. About 80% dry, right? So here I'm starting to do some texturizing work. And you can see I'm resting the bottom blade on my knuckle. I'll show you here in a second. You want to make sure once that blade is resting on that bottom knuckle, you're not going to cut yourself. It was one of my biggest fears or pet peeves when I was coming up in this game. Man, I'm going to cut myself if I do. I'm going to cut myself. Baloney. If you're resting that bottom blade, as long as that bottom blade and it's curved, right? So it's not gonna poke you. Some shears are pointed, but these particular 245 shears, they're kind of curved at the end. As long as that is resting on that knuckle, you're not gonna cut yourself. So I'm just adding a lot of texture here all over, and it's just gonna make the style pop. Here I'm coming in with my razor, doing my razor work. I've cut this client's hair before, so just because I'm just doing the edges here and his hair's pretty soft and his hair's just super soft. It's hard to explain, but if you cut my hair before, you know what I'm talking about. So I don't need to use any kind of product or anything because it just glides and he literally gets no irritation. So I want to make sure I get that nice ash line and give it some pop. So here I'm using 245 Royal Wax, and you want to make sure you apply it to the crown and then work it towards the front, and make sure you apply it to the roots. Crown, roots, and then up and out, if that makes any sense. Crown, roots, up and out, forward. And then I'm just literally taking my fingers here and I'm almost pinching and twisting, and just all that texture that I put in, I'm just making sure it pops and just giving it a nice look here. So this is basically it. I want to thank you guys for taking some time out of your day to spend some time with me in these haircut tutorials. As always, I appreciate your time, and I will see y'all next week.